those boys just take care of him like you can't believe it. I just tickles me to death. Oh, there's a lady gonna do that. I'm not gonna hand them ribbons out, okay? But I think it's your, I can't remember your granddaughter's name. See, they're the same age.
Ivy Fessler?
You know Ivy that's in your primary class? Remember? Well, you know Ivy. Hi.
That's her grandma.
That's her Ivy.
Yeah. And her mom's right over there.
See?
She's getting me open.
Yeah, you and Ivy are friends, aren't you?
That's
Yeah. Yeah. Just tickles me to death to watch that render connect kid and how they take care of that little boy. Yeah, that's what I mean. They're there all the time to take care of him. What? You like those color?
I think a nice class to start off with the steers, and we're going to go ahead and use this orange steer to go ahead and start. In my mind, this is the one that just kind of comes back in the most complete package. It starts at the surface. One, and I shouldn't say just surface. When you get on top of this guy from a three-quarter view, he's actually got the most turn and flare at the base of his quarter. That steer is actually true and more genuine in terms of the width of his chest. Now, is he the most cosmetic steer? No. But you study this guy when you set him in motion in terms of his depth and proportions from the side, the fact that he's softer in terms at his lower joints and stays more square and genuine in his toe and his chest, and lays in a little flatter, neater shoulder that's still powerful. I think that's a logical place to go. Young man's haired steer coming up in second. Young man, you've done a good job getting him prepared and fitted. The problem is he doesn't piece together as nice. He's smooth in his finish. He's got back shape. He doesn't span as big in his pin. He gets more coarse and rigid in how he sits in his lower joint. That dude, when you pull off the hair, I don't think he fits together as nice in terms of his chest and his shoulder. He gets just a little more prominent, spins out a little more of his toe, and not as true and genuine in his knee, but nice, moderate fat steer. Muscular, yield, gory into calf coming into the 3 spot. I think of what's remaining, this is the guy that reads with the most shape, coming down and spread and turn into the base of up there his hip and upper quarter. He's smooth enough in terms of his finish without some extension. Probably just a little tighter bound in terms of his muscle type, not as flexible in terms of his rear hock. In terms of chest and rear leg posture, I actually like the 4 steer better. That dude's really smooth in his finish. He's square in terms of his chest. His body shape's more pliable in turn. The problem that I think he's got some muscle, but the right here is where I just get just a shot critical. He gets shallow in terms of how he comes to the base of his quarter. He's not as big and stout and powerful. I just need to open that up and give him some density. My problem child stands in the next spot. When you just sit back and study him, here's a long extended one that's actually flexible on the go. He actually reads big in terms of his hip bone and natural width. The problem is when you get right in on him, this guy's pretty hollow in regards to his back. He needs more natural turn and density right over his edge of his loin. He tapers in his pin, he flattens his quarter, then he pulls his hock. He just doesn't read as natural in terms of authentic meat animal shape. Love the profile, think the steer's very useful in a skeleton. We just need to add some more punch and muscle in that calf. Hereford steer's shot more expressive. Ultimately, he's narrower and flatter in terms of his general build. I love the stretching through his spine. I like the fact that he's upstanding. I just need to bulk that guy up quite a bit. Next steer comes out of just plain. He actually has got just a shot more turn into his body. He's probably got a little more shot of width from stifle to stifle. When you get him off the side, he's round in terms of his hip. He's deep in terms of his chest. I don't think he's just overly powerful. And we're making a conversation and maybe could just use a shot more finish at this particular time, but a nice, useful, practical feedlot steer. Calf that comes in the next spot is one I like in terms of being more upstanding. This view right here is pretty discriminating, unfortunately. We just need a touch more muscle and power in that guy. And late maturing, growthy, sharp cross steer just gets a little steep in his shoulder over in his knee and doesn't organize his skeleton. That guy probably needs to be at a heavier weight to say he's at his true end point. And calf coming out and then the last hole, really sound, really useful in terms of joints. He just needs a lot more muscle to move up the line.
Let's give this first class a good hand. We appreciate these kids. Cation Francis was our number 1, and Morgan Zollinger would be number 2. They will be standing ready to come back in when we have our class champions. 12:54. 12:39 to 12:54. We've got 11 steers in this class. 12:39 to 12:54. or am I going to hold him? We need to also get our class number 3 up to the front and get ready to go. We'll be ready shortly. Class number 3, get ready.
Grandpa, I'm in class number 3, but in the calves.
Class 2 is in the ring. Class 3, please be lining up.
Yes, we're doing fine. Nope, we're doing good. Yep, we're doing good. You want to go get a milkshake or you want to stay here? How we doing, Roland?
I think the young lady brings us a very useful baldy calf to start. He's a well-fed one. It's honestly, when you start studying him in terms of fundamentals, this is the sound steer in here. The transitions neat and continues to spread and span in terms of natural width and dimension. He actually utilizes his rear leg as well as any in the class and then keeps some head presence. With that said, I don't think he's the muscle steer in here. I think he's above average. I think he's plenty acceptable and kind of fits on both sides of that. Comes with added quality, build, and practicality and skeleton, and that's why he wins, is fitting the pieces together. A couple more unique calf is probably standing behind him in this kind of star-headed, four-headed one. You get right on top of this guy, enormous in terms of the spread and turn to the upper hip on that calf. That one's got more turn and tie into the base of his quarter. With that said, and that one comes with a neat throat, that one isn't quite as agile when you set him in motion, just a little more timid and limited in terms of range of motion. The way the muscle ties actually gets a little rounder and shorter in his hip, rounder and shorter in how he ties down low, and it gives him just an awkward paddle. We change those things, and then maybe we have a whole different conversation, but unfortunately, I'm not just going to go ahead and take the muscle and the neat look and not say that he doesn't have some critique. Steer stands in the 3 spot. This is probably going to be labeled the burly, dense one from outside. He actually gives a really good look from the profile. You do a good job presenting him. I read him just a shot course, and unfortunately, even though he's big pin, has got a huge forearm, I get a little troublesome when I get right on top of him because that guy starts big in terms of his rib cage. But then you get over here and he kind of falls out over his loin edge. I just don't think he has enough natural spread and width. It ties everything together. With that said, he's still dense and muscular and has a good look. He looks like a burly cat. I just want to go ahead and give him some more oomph right there in the middle and make everything blend with maybe just a little softer touch. Well-fed calf standing in the next spot. And actually, I prefer this one in terms of how he ties down his top line. I think he's got a better angle in how he utilizes his knee and his shoulder. The problem is, I get on this 3/4 view, can I say, is there enough quality to say that he doesn't need a shot more muscle? He gets a little narrower pinned and flatter. I think he's organized, presented extremely nice. I just want to go ahead and open that guy up. Next couple, we end up into some skeleton conversations. I think this is the more expressive, shapely calf up high that gets unorganized in how he handles his front and rear leg. I just want to go ahead and soften him in terms of his body and muscle texture. On the flip side, we've got a steer that ends up having some natural pin width that's been well fed. If you start looking at some toes and everything else and how these guys handle, we've had some cattle that's been pushed with some feed, which is fantastic. He's too coarse and straight off both ends. This is actually supposed to be flipped. I want the red calf and then the Hereford calf. I think the conversation is, yeah, we're starting to get into some plainer ones. This one's a better body, better chested one that's been really organized in terms of feed, more extended, longer spine one that's probably got a little bit of weight advantage upside down. His knees too over, his shoulders too over, and he's too disproportional from the profile. The young lady's got a really expressive steer down here that honestly just reads just a shot narrower in terms of his general build and flat. I could see him pushed with just a shot more feed to make me feel comfortable where he's go. And then we got the flip side. Young lady, if you did nothing else, you fed the fire out of this guy. I mean, he is chubby, and that's good in terms of some regards, but I think we crossed the threshold of acceptability and practicality. We want to make him a little more stature and give him some lean yield to go with it. Striped semi-steer down here on the end, and then I've got a little bit of a soft spot for that kind of color. He's too hard-bodied. He's very athletic. He's validated that. I need him to balance and maybe just be a little chubbier in terms of feed.
Laura. She's going to go show her the bucket calf. All right, that was our class number 2, and we had our first place was Mackenzie Mickelson, and second place went to Brinley Adams. They'll be coming back.
Schooler, let's get growing. Your partner for grain and feed, merchandising, marketing, storage, and logistics.
Rudd Funeral Home is there to serve your family in your time of need.
held on. Oh, he didn't let go, man. He's got a smile on his face and lost his hat. Tell you what, that's something to come up with. You got a smile on your face and even lose your hat. But I'm telling you what, that kid's all right. You better believe it. That's the tough ones we raise around here.
Class 3 is in the ring. Class 4, please be lining up.
All right, as we navigate through traffic here, I think we got two nice steers that kind of present themselves in different mannerisms. I'm going to like to use the red baldy calf to win. I just read him as a chubbier. Yeah, give him a hand. He's a chubby-bodied, square-chested steer that's smooth in his finish. It still reads with some expression out of his shape. As he goes, I think both these have a little bit of a different issues in terms of mobility. I'd like to give him just a little more athletic rear leg, but he balances, and he looks like a fat steer with some added power and punch. Now, propped up and stopped, I actually prefer two better. That calf steer, when you get that one put together, gives a really nice silhouette. He ties high out of the top of his shoulder, up in his chest. It really gives him a good presence and look. You study him behind him, too. He actually reads with some turn, and he has some shape. I don't think he's quite as deep in terms of his tie. With that said, when it comes in motion, I think is where things kind of fall apart. I don't think either of them will move right, but he's a coarser jointed one that's more rigid in terms of his pasture, and he unhinges out of his front shoulder. I just want him to gather himself more on mobility. If he does that, he wins this pretty handily, but he doesn't, so he's going to stand second. Steer that comes in the next spot is actually one that's kind of interesting. If you just look from the outside, I'm not going to say he doesn't pull his hock. I'm not going to say that he doesn't have just a plain look. You guys put your hand on this guy. He's got way more back shape than I ever dreamed he would. He's got a huge turn, and he's smooth in his finish with some added spine, and relative to this conversation, he actually ties with some smoothness about his shoulder. He keeps his head up. That's just a nice fat steer to go in the 3 spot. Calf that comes in the next hole kind of follows that same pattern, and honestly, I like this guy in terms of being really smooth finished a great deal. He's actually spreads probably a little square from hock to ground and bigger in his pin. He gets too big in his chest. He's working a little bulldog fronted. That dude just needs to gather himself a little bit more in terms of profile and presence, and maybe unhinge a little looser out of his rear leg. Probably the most collected looking steer stands in the 5 spot from here, and I'm not going to disagree with that. That calf actually gives a nice just Angus steer look. I like that guy in terms of just practicality and fundamentals. He's got some natural width. He's smooth finished, easy feeding. Problem is he's pretty average in terms of muscle too. I think he's ample. I don't think he's bad. I think he's going to be great upside down, but I'd just like to open him up just a little more density and shape. Next steer is more expressive, no doubt about that. Reed's way bigger right behind his shoulder as he works. He just gets a little coarse and round. I want him to use his rear leg more athletically. I want him to give him more practical flank line and maybe soften him because he gets just a little coarse and straight. Steer comes in the next spot, gets a little round, does the same thing, but he does it in a more narrow package. It isn't open in terms of his heart. He doesn't gather himself quite as much even in profile. Then we've got a really good looking one. Young lady, you presented him rock star, and I can't emphasize that enough. The hair's good. He's really put together well. He's a little bare. He's a little narrow. In terms of just bulk and natural, I think he needed more time to be able to make a play because he's got a great silhouette, and I can't emphasize the work you put at home. You need to recognize that and be proud of it. You just kind of got horse one that's not ready yet. Next couple get maybe a little later maturing. Maybe we got one that's a shot more expressive. He's coarser jointed, needs to be a little smoother in terms of his finish too. And old Stripe down here is just being a little bit of a knucklehead. I appreciate it. I've got a soft spot for this kind of cattle. I grew up with them, good, bad, and indifferent in every way because there's pluses and minuses like everything. I just like him to be bulkier and smoother and needs to be a little fatter for me to feel comfortable.
All right, that's our class number 3. Chanel Rupp was number 1, and Kaylee Adams was number 2, and they'll be coming back for our division.
Let me be free. Let me be free. Let me be free.
Rock and Roll Construction Products, providing U-Cart concrete and landscaping products.
Class 4 is in the ring. Class 5, please be lining up.
just a very nice, complete steer to start that just doesn't have anything that's necessarily wrong with him. He's got some natural width, some body shape. That dude, in terms of his skeleton and his organization, does that as well as anything we've seen in here to this point, starting at the surface with some added density and the shape to his hock. That dude also sits up with a nice pattern when you're able to kind of be smooth-shouldered, naturally wide, then pull those things together. Just a nice, complete one to begin. I think the next one actually at moments, especially when they come in sideways and I'm trying to get three-quarter views, there's some spots where I actually admire this calf pretty well. One is right here. I actually think he breeds just a shot bigger and more shapely up through his hip and his pin. That dude ties pretty decent in terms of his lower quarter. Ultimately, though, he gets too rigid in terms of his rear joint. That guy's working over in his knee and isn't as comfortable as he sets. Probably got him just a shot full to be able to handle his top line the way you want him to as he goes. But nonetheless, a nice present steer, just needs to be a little better structured. Another wide made one calf that's actually probably better in terms of the turn down his top. That dude's deeper and softer in terms of his rear flank. He's got his own skeleton issues where he just works just a little wide out of his chest. He's shorter out of his hip and coarse. That in his rear hock, that dude needs to be better in terms of his heel shape too. But a wide, good-bodied, muscular calf that just needs to gather himself. Calf that comes in next probably does that a little better. That one's got some pin width, some natural spread. Obviously, he comes in a little different presentation. I just don't know if he has the same dimension and shape. That dude gets frailer structured. He gets a little cleaner in about his neck. That's a good and bad thing simultaneously. I want to gather him and open him up. Hairy calf, nicely presented coming into the next spot. I think that really helps him in terms of some presentation, even though we could take some of that added fuzz off the top side of him. He's actually one of the better profiling calves in terms of just general skeleton. You get on top of him, he's a little hollower backed and narrower made. I want to just bulk him up quite a bit. Expressive steer standing in the next spot. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't moved your vehicle, congratulations. You're probably about to have to pay a bill. Good profiling, upstanding baldy calf, needs to be opened up in terms of his bulk. This steer ends up having an expressive tie, but he narrows into his quarter and closes in his hock. This guy's got some natural width. He just gets real short and steep and chop steps when he goes. Give him a big hand and we'll go into class 4.
All right, that was our class number 4. We got Allison Daniels and on first and Claire Daniels second. You betcha. That's class number 4. We're going to bring...
For a genuinely warm welcome with small town friendly service, stop by the grill. They have slowly smoked ribs, wings, and briskets, along with homemade appetizers, unique sandwiches, pizzas, and burgers. The grill is a perfect location for family get-togethers or business lunches. They can even cater. For added fun, call the Bear River Bowling Center and reserve a lane. No matter what you like, the grill has something for everyone. Tanglewood Studios has something for everyone, whether it's dance, cheer, color guard, or gymnastics. There's even recreational all-boys gymnastics along with Mamma Me classes. Family rates are available, so come join the fun.
Lincoln Financial specializes in estate, investment, and retirement planning, as well as business benefits. At Lincoln, they are totally impartial, comb through different options to create financial products a person needs. Lincoln Financial, big city service, small town care.
Okay, here's our class number 5. There's 8 of them. 1323 to 1335. Pretty close class. All the top two for the last 4 other classes besides this in here we need to have get ready so we can come and pick a division champion.
We're going to start with the red steer, and I just think this is pretty darn easy to do so. That's a really athletic, good shouldered one. It comes up high out of the top side. Comes with natural power and width, and you set him in motion. He's good at the ground. He's big-ended with a tremendous amount of shape. Steer stands second is honestly one that you like in terms of just being denser and burlier at the surface. That dude's got a big old honking foot in him. He's big in terms of his pin. I think when you step back and study him, I sit there at times and say maybe his underline doesn't come right. I think I just got an awkward view. He's really good in that category. He just doesn't have the name national shape and spread, and therefore he ends up second. But that's a really well-made, high-quality steer to be able to go into. Smoke calf coming in next, and this chocolate guy I think is just a really organized carcass calf with natural muscle. He's got some turn at the base of his quarter. He's big in his forearm. That guy just doesn't balance the same degree. He then pushes forward and his shoulder gets a little deeper at his point, rounder out of his hip. But that's a good body, easy feeding kind of a steer that does a lot of things right. Really easy feeding calf that's just very practical standing in the 4 spot. He's smooth in his finish. You've done a great job presenting him. He just comes a shot more British in terms of character, which isn't bad. He doesn't have the same bulk and mass, but he's a long spine, easy feeding, good structured steer that does everything right. He just got beat by some that have more. Smoke calf coming into the next spot, and this chocolate baldy calf has expression. I think there's carcass value in this guy when you start sending him upside down. How he balances doesn't come together. He tapers into his pin. He fades into his lower quarter. You get on the side of him. That guy gets deeper in his chest in relation to his rear flank. I just want to go ahead and tie his assembly together a little better. Steer standing behind him with the baldy is better from the side. That dude is goosey in terms of how he comes out of the top side of his shoulder, really long and extended out of his spine and hip. Problem is you get behind him and he forgot to bring his lunchbox with him in terms of just muscle. I need to bulk and muscular that calf up in terms of upside down value, but from the side, he's extremely well built. Muscular steer in the next spot that just is too coarse and balled up in terms of his muscle pattern, and very long athletic steer in the last place. He just needs to be opened up with more shot, more shape.
All right, this is our class number 5. The first place goes to Sully Rigby, and second place goes to Dusty Roach. You betcha. Give them a good hand. We'll bring in right now, the first places, and we'll be picking our Division I champion.
Whether you are buying or selling, you need to know you have someone in your corner who can help you get through that process. The realtors at Coldwell Banker are there to help you get into your home, whether it's a starter or your forever. Let Trudy Hatch and Shannon Johnson help you get into the home of your dreams. They're your local experts for all your mortgage needs. Give them a call today.
Rigby Chiropractic, promoting health and wellness locally with a personal touch.
as he pulls them out, we get this other one coming in, because then we still got to bring them in. Yeah, and place them to go out.
I'm pleased as we come back at the end of the first division and with what's out here, there's a resemblance of muscularity, his balance with what we had to work with in each particular class, and they come in different flavors, but they are also big-bodied, smooth-feeding cattle. The first class and that kind of more pumpkin-colored steer, that's one that we talked about there too in terms of just being wide. I thought he was the best option in terms of his rear leg. We talked about him too, just maybe being a little deeper chested and needed to loosen up his rear leg a little bit. That's still the case, but that's a really well-fed steer that you need to be very proud of. Very practical, useful skeleton steer in the Baldy out of class 2. That was absolutely the case. It still is now. We questioned and said, maybe he needs a shot more muscle. He's still just pretty average in that category, but I think he's extremely quality. And again, all these are well fed. Really easy feeding, very smooth finished bred steer coming out of the next division. You can tell in his chest he's loved to eat. He's actually, you get your hands on him, he's like butter all the way through. He's got some natural width. Gets a little easy in his top. That dude's maybe not quite as flexible in terms of his rear leg. Super balanced calf coming out of the next division that I like from the side a great deal. He's got some natural width and squareness. He's got some natural turn. He just doesn't overwhelm you in any particular regard, but highly presented and gives an ultra cool look. Red steer out of our final division is the one that I would say is the most authentic in terms of his meat animal shape. How he spreads out of the backside of his shoulder through his loin and hip is actually very good, and I love watching that guy track away because he's truly on his corners, and he's soft and comfortable in how he sets down his rear leg and all 4 feet. He's your grand champion division.
Okay, so that is the, yep, Rigby, so we've got to have, yep. We need the roach cat. We need the roach cat, right? Is that not the heavyweight? Okay. So, okay, we got it. There we go.
That was solely Rigby. That one.
All right, and you betcha that Sully Rigby's gonna be the number 1. Here we go. We'll get them together here.
I like that calf behind him in class quite a bit, and he is big-footed. He's got a really useful rear leg. I don't know if he's quite as cooked, and when you start studying him, I think his flank line's still fine, but he's still definitely off in terms of his underline because his twist tie's higher in the base of his quarter. I think part of that is just his natural tie in terms of more of that continental type of rear leg. With that said, too, he doesn't have the same quarter fat and fill coming down. With that said, I think there's one that just actually comes with a shot more turn, a better balanced look. That's going to be the Baldy. He's number 2.
So that one would be this one here. Allison Daniels. All right, let's pull this out here. This is Allison Daniels. Let's give these 2 young ladies a real good hand. Boy, I tell you what. Yep. All right, they're going to have them come back. We also have a belt buckle for each one of these right here, and they have for the champion of the division, it's one from Wayne and Sally Pugsley. We want to give them a good hand, and also Todd and Carlene are going to give the other one. Let's give these a real good hand, and we're going to bring them in now and line these here up in order for our sale. Well, I tell you what, this is a great deal. Sure, this is our lightweight division, and I think we've got a pretty good deal here. So these two young ladies, don't forget to come back to the desk and pick up your belt buckles, okay? And then you won't have to hold them going out.
There's a lot to know when it comes to buying insurance. That's why it's important to have an independent agent looking out for you and your family. Whatever you're looking to protect, Advanced Insurance Services can help. Let Sherry Pally help make sure you have the right coverage and are getting all the discounts you deserve. She can shop several carriers to find the company that is right for you. Call for a free insurance review today. Roach Ranches supports the people that support them and the fantastic youth of the Valley. Thank you for over 60 years in business, quality seed stocking, gravel, and hunting.
Amy Rupp with Engel and Volkers grew up in Cache Valley. now lives in Box Elder County and can't imagine calling anywhere else home. The people, places, and gorgeous open landscapes serve as her constant inspiration. Amy serves Box Elder and Cache County in residential sales with knowledge and expertise in large acreage and ranch listings. If experience is what you're looking for, look no further than Amy Rupp. Amy is a proud supporter of the Box Elder County Livestock Auction.
R&B Livestock Solutions has you covered for custom fencing, grazing, and livestock transportation. Give Rhett Munns a call today.
Kent's is your one-stop shop for fresh produce, bakery items, deli, and meat. Stop by today for fast, friendly service.
Rudd Funeral Home is a locally owned family-operated business. Joe Rudd and his family, as well as their devoted staff, are committed to providing you with the best service possible during a difficult time. Their beautiful facilities have all the necessary amenities. A large viewing room can also double as a smaller, more intimate funeral chapel. The chapel is even equipped with streaming capabilities to make sure family and friends are connected no matter how far they may be. Rudd Funeral Home is there to help you in your time of need.
Thanks.
Class 6 is in the ring. Class 7, please be lining up.
kind of have to pick your poison in this particular lineup, and ultimately the one that comes with the most positive is going to be Young Man Standing Up Pride. When that one's popped up in position, he's done an incredible job fitting that one in terms of putting them together in a good silhouette. He's a big forearm steer that's bold and fresh in his body and has dropped in his flank. That's the one that probably blends the best in terms of how he ties the muscle down the top side of his skeleton. He's too rigid and straight, and I'll admit that readily. I want to flex him up. You've done a good job trying to carve him in, but he still is what he is. Motion tells me the truth. But when we stand back and look at him, I think he puts the pieces together. Now, need a fronted steer standing in the 2 spot that has some similar issues in terms of his rear leg. He gets just a little rigid and too much set to his hock, not as big and dense in terms of his footwork. I think he actually tapers into his pin relative to the rest of his body shape. But with that said, relative to the one behind him, he's bolder, he's wider, and he's actually the neatest fronted of the top 3. That actually blends to his benefit. Now, the young lady steers standing in the 3 spot. I like this guy in terms of real world cattle. He comes with an extra rib of spine. He's got natural shape down his back. He's honestly the most comfortable. I'm not going to lie to you on all of those 3 things. Problem is, when I get him behind him, he just average in terms of natural width. I like to see him balance just a little bit more. It's a pick your poison type of a deal. I don't think any of them's perfect. They've got some more unique features. That's why he stands 3rd. But that's really good cattle you need to be proud of. Steer who stands in the next spot ends up just being one that's a little more rigid. He's coarser out of his shoulder. That one's bolder in terms of his upper body, but he doesn't read as dense and dimensional coming down his back. He ties more shallow and round into the base of his quarter. And then you got this mature kind of roan steer that's huge-footed, huge in terms of his legs, but he remembers he gets just a little hollow, and then he gets a little cresty and mature. He toes out of his top end. I need to bulk that guy up in terms of natural density. Steer comes in the next spot, actually might be as heavy muscled in terms of genuine muscle shape as any. I struggle with that calf though, because I just don't read his skeleton quite as practical and loose. He ends up being too coarse and bucked over at his knee. That dude's too rigid out of his rear leg. I need to blend him together and rebuild his angles to make him come together with more athleticism and balance. As we work down the line, we got a big performance-oriented calf. It's late maturing. It ends up being a little too flat, easy in his top. We've got a chubby one that ends up being narrow, constructed, and flatter. Then the calf that comes in the next spot, it has really leveled down his top line. He's soft and easy in terms of his lower body. He pulls his hock too much and almost has more of a feminine rear leg where I want to bulk that guy up. Really neat fronted one to close out the class. Found him kind of late hit in between. I like that guy in terms of elevation. He's the narrowest pin flat one of the set, but nonetheless, easy feeding, big body kind of calf. Just need to bulk and dense him up.
You bet. We got to give these a good hand. I tell you what, that was class number 6. First place went to Jackson Frankham, and second went to Stetson Morris. I tell you what, we'll have them ready to come back.
Schaefer Farms. We grow family, friends, and high-quality crops. Swing by the fielding location and pick up some delicious homegrown food today.
Class 7 is in the ring. Class 8, please be lining up.
We're going to start with the black steer up here, and I think he just puts the most positive pieces together. That dude stopped and propped up, is elevated his chest with a nice look, but more importantly, that's a bold ribbed one that actually spreads with a tremendous amount of shape up through his upper top. He's the wide pin calf that actually ties low in how he feels, how he fits down low. I would like to loosen him out of his rear leg specifically. Those are conversations that's going to continue to go up, but that dude's shape in the base of his quarter and forearm and his lower third fits together really well. Nice job getting that one put together. Baldy calf comes in second, and just a meat and potatoes kind of feed-yard calf that I think is very functional and practical. He actually reads with some density up high and some natural shape. He's square in his hock relative to some other ones in there. He doesn't necessarily come with the same robust spread up high. That dude doesn't have the same accentuating look from the profile, but he's a high-headed calf, and the reason he is his shoulder fits together. He just isn't a streamline into how he fits all the way through. The red steer is a troublesome one for me because parked, I like this guy I bought. He resembles a lot of things I've been trying to find today in regards to an elevated one that's level out of his hip, square in terms of his general make. The problem is you step in behind him, he's just a little stale in terms of his muscle hydration. That dude's actually kind of playing over the edge of his loin, and when you tie in here and get a three-quarter view, the fact that he funnels and fades so much in the base of his quarter kind of helps make that just a little more apparent. Additionally, I want to clean him up in his joints. Baldy calf coming next. Actually, he's got a big back in him. It's better than the calf in front of him in that regard. You can see a ton of turn at the base of that dude's quarter. He's huge-legged, huge forearm. Problem is he's too coarse in terms of his rear leg. He gets a little cowboy-legged and kind of inflamed in his joint. I want to clean that up to be able to move him forward. The smoke is an interesting creature in itself, too, and then if I had a team here, we'd probably discuss how to describe this guy for a little bit in terms of what he is and individually. You get him parked in okay, and you got to look for the fact that he needs his hair trimmed down just a little bit up high. That dude's easy feeding, really easy feeding, and actually comes with kind of a smooth look up high. The problem is even though he's smooth in his general look, I think it's partly because that dude's he's been fed well. You did a good job hauling buckets to him all summer, and that's what you're supposed to do. When you get on top of him, he's not near as authentic in terms of natural spread. He's just got just a little bit more of a boat shape up high, and when you watch that guy go away, he closes in his hock. He's not as authentic in terms of red tissue. He's just a little wide underneath his high, which is going to be good and bad simultaneously. Good job putting him together. Great job feeding him. I just need him to be more meat animal. The calf that's also problematic is the Brockle. Honestly, dude, when I grab onto the edge of that one's loin, he's deep and he's massive, and I like that a lot. I think part of it's the consequence is he has to work it too much because his rear leg doesn't flex and go enough. He needs to be opened up more in his pin and just more comfortable at the surface, but he's got a back in him. Calf comes in next, and the next two, we've got one that's more expressive, maybe just a little leaner. We've got one that's been fed well too. You definitely didn't took that one to heart. He probably loses his balance and his composition just a little bit in terms of his fat to lean ratio. I like that calf a bunch. He actually has got some top shape. I need him to pull together just a little nicer package. Give him a hand as they exit back to the barn.
All right, our number one in the class was Blakely Pugsley, and number two was Clancy Udy, which will be coming back for our number two division.
Miller Medical is ready to care for clients with full services for family medical. They also offer beauty and spa health treatments with hot stone and IV vitamin therapies, as well as Botox. Let Miller Medical take care of all your healthcare needs.
Rupp Trucking Excavating is a family-owned and operated construction business specializing in site prep and site utilities. Brothers Blaine and Brent Rupp have spent the last 45 years priding themselves on a project well done. What began small has turned into a company of over 70 employees performing contracts up to $20 million and includes work such as demolition, sewer and water installation, earthwork, septic systems, and waste containers. Rupp's operates several gravel pits and offers both delivery and pickup. Contact Rupp's for your construction needs.
Central Milling Company is a proud supporter of the Box Elder County Fair. Select the best products for your family by using Central Milling Company.
Class 8 is in the ring. Class 9, please line up.
Orange steer's dressed to the nines, kid. Came to the ball and wanted to play. I love this calf from the side. He's really neat in terms of his shoulder, his angulation, and how he utilizes his rear leg is nice. How his silhouette fits together in terms of his underline and just an easy feeding look is good. I do think he's got enough, and I want to make that clear, especially right now. The thing where I really want to change him is I think he needs more. I think he needs substantially more muscle down his back and through his pin. He closes too much in his hock, but he's a high-quality calf that still has enough at this particular category. I just want to make it clear. I want to open that guy up and just make him denser right underneath his hide. I actually think that's where the 2 calf really plays in really, really well. You get this guy strung upside down, he's going to be rock star, kid, and I know that very, very clearly. He spreads big out of his top. That dude's got a huge edge into him or his loin and ties deep in how he fits. I think that one's still got enough and comes with higher presentation. That's just a really useful type of feed yard steer that's still comfortable and sound, but he's still just a little awkward in how he handles his rear leg. He doesn't balance to the same degree. Really, really good job. Steer runs into 3 spot. Yeah, give her a hand. Probably mirrors your class winner more in terms of front end assembly and presentation. That dude's really high-headed and has a really attractive look when you get him parked. I like the fact that he's got a really nice underline too in terms of silhouette. He falls off when we get right in behind him. I want to open that guy up and tie him deeper in terms of his quarter. I don't think he handles his rear leg quite as effectively as the 2 cattle in front of him. I think he's a nice presentation calf that just needs to be opened up and a little neater in how he assembles there. Black and white steer is really kind of a coarser made one, but young man, he's got some muscle. He's just a little rounder in terms of his general shape. I want to make him bigger and squarer and ups high. I want to go ahead and clean him up in terms of his joint work, give him presentation, but again, a well-fed steer that's got some carcass value underneath. Obviously, end up having some conversations in terms of where I put you. I want more from behind. That steer needs to be opened up, but the conversation is I don't know if there's a calf that just has an overwhelming amount of muscle that's left. That one from the side is actually really well organized. He's neat in terms of how he's assembled. That one's effective in how he gets out and goes. You got to have some function to go there, and he's an easy feeding calf that you've handled really well. I told the young lady in the next spot that that's a well-fed calf. Guys, when you go to push on that one, he is like silk down his back. I like the fact that you took it serious in terms of what the end value. No matter whether they're champions or last, all of them end up on a dinner plate, and we got to keep them carcass right. You did that. When you sit back and look at this guy, he's just too upright in his shoulder. He's too coarse in how he puts. He needs to handle his rear leg with more athleticism as well as he gets rigid, specifically at his lower joints. One that's got a well-fed, smooth-made calf, he just gets too chesty, he's too round off both ends, and that kind of turns into the same conversation of a calf that's actually longer. He just needs to be more bulked up high. Give him a big hand as they head back into the barn.
Well, I tell you what, Michaela Morris had the #1 steer, and Elizabeth Firth, and they will be the 2 that come back to go for the Division II championship. They'll be back here shortly.
Tree Mountain City, creating a safe and welcoming community where neighbors feel connected to each other and enjoy life.
Representing the finest properties in the area. You're thinking of Farmhouse Realty. From farms and ranches to first homes to second homes and everything in between. My mission is helping you pursue a new home or a new property. As a local farmer myself, I'm no stranger to tightening up my bootstraps, dirtying my hands, and getting down to work for my clients. Exceeding your expectations isn't the exception, it's our standard. From first homes to farms and every acre in between, let Farmhouse Realty Group get to work for you.
you find the cow?
Yeah, found it.
Where?
The photographer had it, and I rode by Dan.
What photographer? How did she get it? What did she do that for?
Well, it never fails that I get to a point that I take one that's maybe not quite as fancy. And I think that's kind of where we've landed now. I'm going to elect to use a young man's back here. I just think this is the most complete calf in this particular category. That's a square-chested, smooth-shouldered one that's bold in terms of his body. When you get him on a three-quarter view, it's the fact that he reads with an extra length in his rib. He's got more turn coming down his back, more shape at the base of his stifle, and honestly, he's got a more athletic rear leg. I just think this one puts more pieces together. Now, I feel bad because this calf has been fit and really looks good, and when you got him stopped, I actually like the added elevation. I think he reads breed's a little more mature in terms of his neck. I don't think he moves as quite as good. You study him even now, he turns out he tends to paddle off both ends. You get him behind this guy, I think he's square, but I don't think he's aggressive in his turn. I think he's pretty average in terms of width of his pin and hock, and fades to the base of his hot quarter. I need to open that guy up just with a lot more shape. And that's a really good steer to be able to go ahead and beat him. Steer comes out in the third spot. I actually like better in terms of body shape. He's fresher in terms of his head and neck. I'll agree that, admit all that readily. He's probably bigger pinned. I don't know if he's just out there in terms of aggression. I think he's good in terms of his shape, but he's rounder in his tie. He's plainer over his edge. I don't know if he's got enough muscle to say that he's good enough to be able to make that step of the combination calf that stands up high. Steer stands in the next spot, long spine, wide pin. Gets a little easy in his top, a little plain in terms of his edge. I think he's very good and certainly useful, especially from a carcass standpoint of the pair. I think this here next, he's the one that's more organized in his skeleton. I just want to lace him in just a little smoother and open him up in terms of his lower third. Dude, this guy's got a back in him. You go and grab onto that dude's edge. He is aggressive. He is deep. I'd love to see what that dude actually opens with because it is enormous. Problem is when you get that kind of muscle, maybe it doesn't come together in quite sensible package. He gets kind of coarser in terms of his joints. He's not as good and gets a short ball tie into the base of his quarter. I need him to loosen and soften, and that'll change in how he gathers himself in terms of a functionality standpoint. But dude, that guy's got a back, and you need to be proud of that. Just a really practical, easy feeding red steer that comes in the next spot. He is so easy feeding in terms of his kind and body and flank. He's been well fed. He's just deficient in terms of muscle and look from the side. I need to bulk that guy up quite a bit, but that's been a well-fed calf that you need to be proud of. Next couple that fit into that regard, really good looking one in terms of being neat in terms of his front end, has some length, organized in the skeleton, just needs a shot more muscle and bulk. This dude is really easy in his top. He's just plain and flat from behind. And the calf that rounds out the class has got muscle, just needs to be reorganized. He's too over in his knee. He's too frail featured and too wrapped in terms of the base of his quarter.
All right, that's our class number 9. Lincoln Hammonds was number 1, and Quentin Frankham was number 2. And now we're going to...
If you are in need of financial assistance, call Dusty Roach at Lincoln Financial. He and his friendly staff have the expertise you'll need.
You know, as we balance back and forth between different lines, I never really doubted that this is a steer that probably needs to win. He's the one that kind of puts pieces together in a really good package. He's sound in terms of his feet and legs, and as he gets underneath with some elevation, as we get him this heavy and big, they're starting to all get a little mature. But he's fresh in terms of his spread coming back. He's bigger pinned. He stays more true underneath. I like the base of his chest and how everything fits together. Now, there's some unique features in the steer that stay in second. Honestly, when I get right up on top of this guy, when I read upper hip and pin width, I'm actually pretty enamored. I think he's really good in that category. He gives a good look with added length of spine. You set him in motion. I just don't know if he's athletic with his rear leg, but the big thing on him is he's pretty stale in terms of his handle. He needs to be freshened and hydrated in his turn. He needs to be fresher in terms of his finish by some margin. If you do those things, it probably makes a big difference, and I'd like to see him at a different day, at a different management. I get where he's at from that category, but great job getting him dressed. Much more hydrated, smooth finish calf standing in the 3 spot that I like a great deal. And he's actually got some natural muscle. The problem is even though he's organized in his skeleton, he's got a little edge set to his hock. You step in behind him, man, he just wants to almost cross his legs because he's not square enough from behind in terms of natural muscle. But that's an easy feeding calf that's been managed well to a good endpoint. Steer comes in next, kind of falls in that same package in terms of where he fits. He tapers and flattens into his pin a little more. He gets more open in terms of the base of his shoulder and off in there, and doesn't tie his top line together as nice. Steer stands next is one that's kind of troublesome for me because just from a sheer muscularity standpoint, this is probably one of the better ones in class. He's dense and hard in terms of his shape up high, and he's got a long spine. Gets a little coarser in terms of his joints. I need to bolden that guy up in terms of his general body shape and make him be a little easier feeding, spread him in terms of his pin, and then we end up having a different conversation. Little wider constructed hip steer standing in the next spot. He gets easier his top rolled up in his shoulder. He just needs to blend and connect better, but he's been well fed. And we got a black and white steer in here that just gets a little round and steep. He's a little extra full right now too, which is going off of his balance. Compositionally nice steer that's got some expression in the next spot with a long spine and has some look in him. From that regard, he just gets a little plain and fat. And then we got a young lady that's done a really good job of presenting the steer and getting him presented. The problem is his joints aren't good enough. He's a little early in his maturity pattern for this particular point, and I think he's got way more white tissue than red underneath his hide.
All right, that was our class number 10. Number 1 was Dax Earl, and number 2 was McKenna Earl. You bet. Let's give them a good.
Whether you are purchasing a car, buying a home, managing an investment property, starting a small business, or leaving behind a legacy, American Family Insurance will help you protect your dream. Bear River Live is proud to bring you another production, Talk of the Town. These weekly episodes will bring local stories to life and keep you informed on what is happening in the community, as well as business spotlights and expert tips.
Calves together down here. We'll be bringing them in here in just a second. So get your first and second place steers for the second division heavyweight classes lined up, so we're ready to go. First 2 places in our division number 2 heavyweights. We need to get ready so we can bring all the number 1s in first. We need to remember and get the first place steers, all the first place steers from the second division. We need all the first place and the seconds to wait. Yeah, we got the seconds to wait. And then we'll get them through here and get them done. Okay.
Kind of thought this would be how the way it went for at least the class winner from the beginning, and it still holds true. As they get in these heavier weights, they're obviously getting mature, and that comes with maybe some added crest, that comes with some added fat. Quite honestly, from an industry standpoint, I've kind of alluded to upside down value, but I haven't really just got into a conversation, a composition. The reality is the cattle out of the last couple, 3 classes, that's going to be the most of the norm in terms of where our industry averages are coming in, especially at falls, and especially the short cattle run that we got. But nonetheless, I think they mirror some reality, but that also needs to freshen them up and keep some other things together. This is the sound structured, tall shouldered, one that's big in terms of his pin and is true in terms of underneath. He balances with some muscle and still some added look. That's just a nice calf to begin. The steer comes second as kind of a meat and potatoes, and I think we've got a couple of those coming down through here. He's not as neat in terms of how he sits in his shoulder. Honestly, he gets a little wide. Probably part of that's his weight and the fact that he is really smooth and chubby in his finish. He's got turned down his back. He's not as square in terms of his hip and pin. He's not as square in terms of his hock. I just want to gather him in terms of some of those edges just a little bit. Steer that stands in the third spot is the one that's going to mirror your class winner in terms of look from the side. That young lady's done a great job presenting him. Honestly, maybe better in terms of keeping his head just a little cocked up and arrogant in that regard. As he goes, he just gets a little timid and frail relative to his stature out of his rear leg specifically. Get him on a 3/4 view. I don't think that guy's quite as authentic in terms of his natural muscle and power. He fades and planes to the base of his quarter. I want to go ahead and open him up and just make him just a little more rigid or a little more fluid. Steer stands next is a meat and potatoes kind of calf, and he likes potatoes a lot, and I'm with him quite a bit. The dude is silky smooth in terms of his finish, and I really appreciate the young person putting this calf together and putting that end point in mind to what he's supposed to do, and pounds still pay, right? But you get underneath the fact he's starting to lose some of his balance point, and he's plenty chubby relative to the muscle he's got underneath. I don't think he's a problem in terms of where he's going to calculate, but I still want to freshen him up and give him just more lean shape. Steer comes in next, more elevated length and more yield-oriented in terms of his expression. He's too skinny. You need to go ahead and open that guy up in terms of his spinning body and center body and pin. if I can gather my words. He also gets just a little more two-set to his hock. I appreciate the factors he got in, but we need to go together. Muscular steer standing in the next spot that's got some turn. He just needs to gather it better. He gets a little coarse and big out of his shoulder. He's got too much set and inflammation to his hock. He ends up being a little roller coaster in terms of his back. But nonetheless, I think when we got the end point, he's got value. Bow-legged steer standing next is too coarse in his joints. I like him from a standpoint that I think all these things from top to bottom have muscle. In this particular category, just variations of how they organize it. He's too balled up. We need to clean him up in his rear leg. He kind of walks like an old cowboy that's been working too hard. Steer rounds out the class, ends up being really, really stout, really powerful. He's too much. He's way too bold out of his shoulder and spun out. It ends up compromising how he's able to handle himself from an athleticism standpoint. Give him a big hand for the last class as they retire to the barn, and we'll pick a heavy division.
All right, that was our class number 11. Our number 1 was Kensley Pugsley, and number 2 was Cash Maxfield. And now we're going to bring...
Schooler, let's get growing. Your partner for grain and feed, merchandising, marketing, storage, and logistics.
This will be our Division II heavyweight champions.
nice heavyweight division as we come back, and we navigated some different variations with the cattle in this division and throughout the entire 3 days that I've been here. But when we start studying them, we certainly got some differences. Heavy muscled steer that's honestly just too vertical off both ends of his skeleton, spun out of his toe, but I like the fact that he's square in terms of his pin and it's got some top shape. This steer's got really good top shape in him. He's good in terms of his back. This guy spins out too much and needs to be flexed down low. Wildly good looking one, especially dressed up, coming in the next spot. I think he's got muscle. I want to make that clear. I don't think he's deficient or devoid in any particular regard. I still wish he would just more open up, especially as he goes away and big over his top. But that dude from the side, money in terms of his general look and freshness. Really good functional cattle out of the next division. Smooth fed, have enough muscle, sound in terms of where to go. Real world cattle that just kind of come together, and they need to have representation here too. Those things are what's going to feed the globe, but maybe just not a show steer in this particular category. Steer out of the next division is big out of his pin, tall in terms of his shoulder. Maybe he's starting, these last two start getting just a little more mature. I think he's got top shape. I don't know if he goes just to the same flexibility that I'm trying to find. And then the heavy steer down here, really honestly good in terms of his pin, got spread, especially for being that weight, even though he's mature and cresty in terms of his head and neck. That's fine. He's still fat, he's heavy, and he's sound. With that being said, I think there's one that's got to be used. That's going to be Old Pumpkin here. He's going to be champion heavyweight. Another useful kind of calf that comes in here for a second behind him that honestly, as I said in class, is stouter muscled. That one just doesn't come together with the same organization. Wide chested with a little more prominent shoulder, doesn't gather itself quite as much in terms of how it puts together, but I think that one's got a huge opportunity upside.
If you tried a blue Dodge Ram with Wyoming plates and you're parked over by the vendors, you are blocking some folks in and you need to move your vehicle immediately. Thanks.
I kind of got scared. I heard blue Dodge Ram, but mine's got PA plates, so I guess I'm okay. I think that dude's actually got a tremendous amount of meat. I think he's got a tremendous amount of upside down value. I think those cattle have value all the way through. As we start talking about ones that all have muscle and they all have those things, he's too generic in terms of his rear leg, a little prominent in terms of his shoulder. Second best one in my mind is actually the heavyweight. He's going to be a reserve.
Okay, so our Division II champion, Division II champion is going to be Michaela Morris, and our reserve champion is what's her Hensley, yeah, Hensley Pugsley. Let's give them a real good hand. They're also going to receive a belt buckle. The champion buckle was donated by Eli and Sherry Pally. And the reserve champion buckle is donated by Brett and Tammy Earl. Boy, I tell you what, this is families that's helped us for a long time. Let's give them a real good hand too, and then we'll be ready here in just a minute to pick our grand champion steer. Thank you. Oh, yes. We need the Division I, the Division One winners to come to the front here so we can pick our grand champion steer. If we could get the Division Grand and Reserve champion to come over here, we'll be ready in just a minute as we get this taken care of here.
Rudd Funeral Home is there to serve your family in your time of need.
Let me be free. Let me be free. Let me be free.
Rock and Roll Construction Products, providing U-Cart concrete and landscaping products. For a genuinely warm welcome with small town friendly service, stop by the grill. They have slowly smoked ribs, wings, and briskets, along with homemade appetizers, unique sandwiches, pizzas, and burgers. The grill is a perfect location for family get-togethers or business lunches. They can even cater. For added fun, call the Bear River Bowling Center and reserve a lane. No matter what you like, the grill has something for everyone. Tanglewood Studios has something for everyone, whether it's dance, cheer, color guard, or gymnastics. There's even recreational all-boys gymnastics along with Mamma Me classes. Family rates are available, so come join the fun.
Lincoln Financial specializes in estate, investment, and retirement planning, as well as business benefits. At Lincoln, they are totally impartial, comb through different options to create financial products that a person needs. Lincoln Financial, big city service, small town care.
Whether you are buying or selling, you need to know you have someone in your corner who can help you get through that process. The realtors at Coldwell Banker are there to help you get into your home, whether it's a starter or your forever. Let Trudy Hatch and Shannon Johnson help you get into the home of your dreams. They're your local experts for all your mortgage needs. Give them a call today.
Rigby Chiropractic, promoting health and wellness locally with a personal touch.
There's a lot to know when it comes to buying insurance. That's why it's important to have an independent agent looking out for you and your family. Whatever you're looking to protect, Advanced Insurance Services can help. Let Sherry Pally help make sure you have the right coverage and are getting all the discounts you deserve. She can shop several carriers to find the company that is right for you. Call for a free insurance review today. Roach Ranches supports the people that support them and the fantastic youth of the Valley. Thank you for over 60 years in business, quality seed stocking, gravel, and hunting.
Okay, now just before our judge picks this steer and picks the Grand and Reserve steer, I want to tell you this judge, I think we need to give him a real good hand. He's been here all week long. He's done a wonderful job for this county, and we do appreciate it. His name is Ben Williamson, and he's from all the way back east. And I'll tell you what, what's that? No, Maryland. Yeah, there you go. And I'll tell you what, he's been a teacher at Penn State. He's working with them back there. And here in just a little while with live deal on the internet, if you get a chance to look at this, they're going to have a little interview, and he'll tell you a little what he's done back there compared to what it is and how he's enjoyed it being here at the fair. So before he does this, let's just give him one more real good hand. And everybody, I hope you have a chance to look on the internet and see this, because I had a chance to go to lunch with him today, and I'll tell you what, he's got a real good story and a history and knows what he's doing. So we really do appreciate him being here. Thank you.
Well, I know I still got 2 showmanships tomorrow, but this would be the last market show that I have to do this week. And I want to just say thank you to everybody for the invitation to come out. It's something I kind of had to finagle together to make it work. This is actually the first week of classes back in good old state. I actually went back to the room and recorded lectures last night, so I talked to myself 2 hours at my computer after I'd talked all day. I don't know if the kids like it or not back home, because I'm not listening. Let's see if they actually paid attention when we have class Tuesday. With that said, it's been a privilege. It's been a tremendous amount of fun. I've never been to Utah. Gorgeous country, completely different essence. I told the folks last night I left and I just kind of walked around the fair just to get a kind of a sense of it and just disconnect my head. Man, that sunset on those mountains, that's just almost like a painting. God works and has beauty everywhere. It's just unique in where he puts it. You've got a unique story here. I'd be remiss to say, and I've mentioned conversation throughout the entire time, that this is a perspective and an opinion, and everybody's got different ways. I've been this enough. I've been on enough committees. I've been coaching teams long enough. I actually have people in my head, and not that it matters, but I know, well, if this guy was standing here, this is the way it would go. He's not here, it's me, and that's my perspective. And I hope you've been able to follow in terms of my primary emphasis. I try to find that balance point in terms of fundamental livestock, what they're productive, where they have some carcass value, and then once that's there, we're going to go find quality and find those lines and how they put together. I'm happy with the 2 steers that are here. The last thing I want to say, and the thing I've kind of been building up to in terms of being disciplined, going to work, make sure that you guys are on the outside. Just come and learn. That's the biggest key. I didn't have the money and resources to be able to travel and show really anywhere other than local and little state level when I grew up. I just kept learning, and I kept trying to find different ways to find different avenues to what I was doing. That's the perspective of where we need to go. The last thing that I've been building to with this is probably my most recent conversation that I've been putting into some of these conversations. We all say and we all know, and I've heard it from everybody this week, and you hear it everybody, we do this for the kids. We do it for community. We do it for family time. Yeah, give her a round of applause. The part that troubles me, in case you haven't got a little bit of a glimmer in my mind, is the fact that we never say why. We never pause and say, what's the gain? We know it's an investment, it's worth it, it's in our kids, but what's the true gain of this type of activity? Kids have a huge plethora today of youth activities that give them a lot of opportunity to travel, to learn discipline, teamwork. But what makes this special? What makes it different? Because honestly, this might be as expensive as any of them to do, especially to compete on a high level. Tell me another activity where we not only say you've got to team up with a 1,410-pound steer that outweighs you and can hurt you at any given time, but you got to be on the same page. Tell me another activity where we put the care of a living creature in our youth and say, it doesn't matter if you're sick, it doesn't matter what you got going on, you got to make time and go to the barn. You, that creature, that animal, that livestock project depends on you. Tell me another activity that we have to balance so many life skills in regards to discipline, animal husbandry, nutrition, management, ventilation, general care, and finances. And then we got to balance it all. I can't think of another one. That's what makes this different. Kids, I've made references all week. This world is darn near on fire. Our generation is making mistake after mistake after mistake, and we're not independent thinkers anymore. What makes this different is you've got to realize that they take a different need. They need a different plan of nutrition based on what I have. We have to use the information at hand, find logic, and go find answers. That's the investment. That's what makes this special. That's why we do this. Whoever helps you get out here and be able to do this, no matter the species you've done this week, you come back, you thank them. Even if you're mad, even if it didn't go your way, even if it's not a great day, go calm down and realize what we're trying to do, because we're using the livestock as vehicles to make the generation of future leaders. We've heard me ramble too much. I'm done. Let's go back to the task at hand, and I think we got two steers out here for contention for champion and reserve that are both very good. They're just a little different kind. We've got this big steer here came out of our heavy division. Man, from the side, that dude is smoke show silhouette. He is so neat in how he ties his shoulder and really good in terms of his general lines. He's dressed to the nines. I keep making references like he's got muscle. Man, I just wish he was denser. On the flip side of that, I think you got a steer that actually comes with a shot more and a little more shoulder in him. Both of them are plenty heavy enough in terms of standard, but that dude's body shape is a massive in terms of the roundness of his cage. That dude is truly square. I love watching that dude travel away because he's truly on his corners and athletic. He's big, stout, robust. He's going to win. Congratulations. That's nothing to take away. If you haven't figured out, I've been trying to find a balance point of quality and meat animals and production. I think he just fits that really well. Young lady, that dude is awesome from the side. He's got muscle. You're two.
So our grand is Sully Rigby, and our reserve is Michaela Morris. Boy, I tell you what, this is a great show. Let's give them a real good hand, and I'll tell you what, the two right to follow behind, Allison Daniels and Kensley Pugsley. Boy, I tell you what, these kids have done a whale of a job. Let's give all four of them a real good hand, and we need to get a picture with our grand and reserve champion. You betcha.
Amy Rupp with England Volkers grew up in Cache Valley, now lives in Box Elder County, and can't imagine calling anywhere else home. The people, places, and gorgeous open landscapes serve as her constant inspiration. Amy serves Box Elder and Cache County in residential sales with knowledge and expertise in large acreage and ranch listings. If experience is what you're looking for, look no further than Amy Rupp. Amy is a proud supporter of the Box Elder County Livestock Auction.
R&B Livestock Solutions has you covered for custom fencing, grazing, and livestock transportation. Give Rhett Munns a call today.
Kent's is your one-stop shop for fresh produce, bakery items, deli, and meat. Stop by today for fast, friendly service.
Rudd Funeral Home is a locally owned family-operated business. Joe Rudd and his family, as well as their devoted staff, are committed to providing you with the best service possible during a difficult time. Their beautiful facilities have all the necessary amenities. A large viewing room can also double as a smaller, more intimate funeral chapel. The chapel is even equipped with streaming capabilities to make sure family and friends are connected no matter how far they may be. Rudd Funeral Home is there to help you in your time of need. Schaefer Farms. We grow family, friends, and high-quality crops. Swing by the fielding location and pick up some delicious homegrown food today. Miller Medical is ready to care for clients with full services for family medical. They also offer beauty and spa health treatments with hot stone and IV vitamin therapies, as well as Botox. Let Miller Medical take care of all your healthcare needs.
Rupp Trucking and Excavating is a family-owned and operated construction business specializing in site prep and site utilities. Brothers Blaine and Brent Rupp have spent the last 45 years priding themselves on a project well done. What began small has turned into a company of over 70 employees performing contracts up to $20 million and includes work such as demolition, sewer and water installation, earthwork, septic systems, and waste containers. Rupp's operates several gravel pits and offers both delivery and pickup. Contact Rupp's for your construction needs.
Central Milling Company is a proud supporter of the Box Elder County Fair. Select the best products for your family by using Central Milling Company. Tree Mountain City, creating a safe and welcoming community where neighbors feel connected to each other and enjoy life.
Representing the finest properties in the area. You're thinking of Farmhouse Realty. From farms and ranches to first homes to second homes and everything in between. My mission is helping you pursue a new home or a new property. As a local farmer myself, I'm no stranger to tightening up my bootstraps, dirtying my hands, and getting down to work for my clients. Exceeding your expectations isn't the exception, it's our standard. From first homes to farms and every acre in between, let Farmhouse Realty Group get to work for you.
Because I have extras, like we pre-sold almost 100, but I have a lot of extras, so somebody needs to talk about it throughout the next 2 days so that we can.
Okay, we can remember and just announce one at the beginning of the showmanship tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, it's just the fundraiser for Friends of the Fair. We just have the. Yes, I think.
All right, and also too, we're going to be having the bucket cap show here in just not very long. So do that, and then also over here in front of the live streaming and stuff over here, they have got some T-shirts they're selling that's going to go to help support the Friends of the Fair at the auction on Saturday. And hold that up. Hold that up. They've got these shirts, so if somebody wants to buy one of these shirts to remember how good it's been this year, they'll be right here, just right in front of the live stream stuff right here. So Friends of the Fair are doing that. It's going to go help support the sale on Saturday. So thank you.
Bear River Live is proud to bring you another production, Talk of the Town. These weekly episodes will bring local stories to life and keep you informed on what is happening in the community, as well as business spotlights and expert tips.
If you are in need of financial assistance, call Dusty Roach at Lincoln Financial. He and his friendly staff have the expertise you'll need.
Whether you are purchasing a car, buying a home, managing an investment property, starting a small business, or leaving behind a legacy, American Family Insurance will help you protect your dream. For a genuinely warm welcome with small town friendly service, stop by the grill. They have slowly smoked ribs, wings, and briskets, along with homemade appetizers, unique sandwiches, pizzas, and burgers. The grill is a perfect location for family get-togethers or business lunches. They can even cater. For added fun, call the Bear River Bowling Center and reserve a lane. No matter what you like, the grill has something for everyone.
Schooler, let's get growing. Your partner for grain and feed, merchandising, marketing, storage, and logistics.
Rudd Funeral Home is there to serve your family in your time of need.